New at 4 o'clock, a Las Vegas graduate from Rancho High School is making history at Harvard University. He's become one of the youngest students to be elected student body co-president. John Cook came from a middle-class background and wants other students in Las Vegas to dream big. 19-year-old John Cook is making history.
Getting to Harvard was a very surreal experience. I didn't really have any support structures for going to college, being a first-generation college student and the first in my family to go to college, period, let alone somewhere across the country.
Cook is now a sophomore at Harvard University studying government and history. He says he dreamed of attending the Air Force Academy, but that all changed 3 years ago.
During summer of 2020, I got heavily involved in the Black Lives Matter movement after the death of George Floyd, and that really affected me and my family. And I realized after that I wanted to shift my career focus to advocacy and to law and to government.
Now he's working to make a difference on campus. He was recently elected student body co-president, one of the youngest students to hold this position. He says he plans to use his platform to expand mental health resources for students. He hopes his story will inspire others to dream big.
Anything is possible when you put your mind to it. And the amount of resources that are in Vegas, not well advertised, but if you know where to look, and if you go to your local schools and go to people in the community that will help you, there's so many resources that I never imagined.
Cook says after he graduates, he wants to attend Harvard Law and then work in politics.